Game resumed.
We're here in the top right. Frost. We have two Dutchies here facing off in the winners match, the way I like it. We have from Team Esports Club Visualize, he's the green Zerg, he is RainMan. Against in the bottom left. From Team Fnatic, he is Harstem on a hot streak right now, I have to say.
Now, we said it in the last series, and I think it's safe to say it again. Harstem is just playing spectacularly well. Such a solid run so far in 2014. Just really upping all of his expectations and the expectations of people for him. And now he's in, of course, WCS EU Premier. I really think he's got a possibility to do quite well in his group.
Yeah, I really think so as well. In general, the Dutchies have been really impressive as of lately, getting 3 players into WCS Premier, making us, I think, next to Korea, the country with the most players in WCS EU Premier. So that's something we beat ourselves on the chest for, if I can say so. Another thing, though, is that we yesterday played against Norway in the Nation Wars, and it didn't go so well. So that kind of sucked. But then again, Snoot has been playing like a monster lately. So
yeah, Snoot is probably there, chasing at the heroes of best Forerunner at the moment, in my opinion. And
I agree as well. Like, just killing so many Koreans, actually winning tournaments. That's something that is quite rare for foreigners these days, you would say. And yeah, let's talk about this game actually here, because RainMan actually went for something like a 14 pool and a very late hatchery at first. So this is not an aggressive build by any means. He just wants to be safe against cannon shenanigans, it seems.
It's the build actually Tefl uses quite often up against Protoss players, or up against everyone. That 14 pool, economically, you take a minor hit, but in terms of safety, there's not really anything that will kill you outright if you've gone for that in the early game. So, RainMan opting for the safe style. Meanwhile, Harstem, the complete reverse. Nexus first.
Yep. Yeah, it seems he really feels confident going up against RainMan. Keep in mind, these two players have been playing each other for a long time. Way before the Dutch, well, probably even during the Dutch StarCraft League at some point. I'm not 100% sure, but these guys have quite a bit of history with each other, simply by being Dutch players. And yeah, I can't really disagree with going for Nexus first on this map. Like, RainMan isn't the type of player to go for that really aggression all out. And yeah, a lot of links though, I can tell you that already.
I'm just trying to think if there's anything a Zerg player can realistically do on Frost to punish a Nexus first, and to be honest, there isn't too much. You could go for some speedling play off of one base or something like that, but hey, that hits so late anyway on a big 4-player map without that scout down, that you're playing such a gamble.
Yeah, reactively punishing as a Zerg against the Protoss is actually quite difficult, because Protoss is usually quite safe against reactive attacks by Zerg, which usually involve speedlings, because of how good force fields and how effective they are against them. So yeah, Harstem is now going to be finishing his wall off, and I like the response by RainMan here. He's going to get a quick third. And we'll be able to drone up quite nicely in response.
It is true, you can't, as you said, force fields stop the lings very nicely, and Photon Overcharge stops any, say, like 7 roach pushes or something like that. So trying to punish it is a pain. Taking the third hatch though, nice and quickly, minimizes the advantage Harstem got economically from the Nexus first.
Yep, and if RainMan just plays really greedily and gets a good scout of the Overlord that's currently already moving close to the base of Harstem, he could completely nullify that advantage. He needs to remember though that getting the Nexus first gives the Protoss a nice boost in economy, which makes their Immortal Sentry timings even that much more strong.
And that's going to be the big concern is, wow! Whoa, whoa, whoa. Cutting myself short there. Third Nexus came down at like 6 minutes. That's arguably the quickest you could possibly get it.
Like, I'm not sure if Harstem is just metagaming RainMan at this point, or if he's just playing very, very confident and knows he can actually do this. Like, usually you don't play this build in tournaments unless you're confident that you can, pull it off in practice against good opponents. And yeah, he seems to really have this down already, because he's got a forge falling up, he's adding on a robo, 2 more gates. I really think Harstem knows what he's doing here. This isn't just greed, you know?
Well, there's 8 Lings coming across, but hey, 8 Zerglings, they don't stop this third base from coming down. It's just not enough.
Yeah.
Once the Nexus is finished, you've got Photon Overcharge, you've got the cannon that's now completely safe back there. RainMan does get quite an early scout of this, but to be honest, the only thing you can realistically do against this is just tech quickly.
I think Harstem made a small mistake here. Like, there's a photon cannon next to the third Nexus, and a Zergling can actually get to it. So I think he slightly mispositioned his pylon or something.
Yeah.
That's really weird, because if you look at the buildings right now, there's no way a Zergling should be able to touch it, but for some reason it could.
It's
anyway,
the pylon, it needs to be 1 hex, or 1 cell right.
Yeah, to the right. Anyway, we do have, well, basically everything on the way for Harstem. He's actually getting a War Prism. So this looks like Nana was, yeah, Immortal Century all in, which is accompanied by 2 Immortals and a War Prism. However, he lacks the gates for it. So I really think he'll be, going into Colossus rather soon and play really standard.
The Twilight Counts is a really interesting move though.
Yeah.
This is going to allow +2 to come through. But the concern with this, and I've got to give credit to RainMan, is that by going for a Hydra Den, you really counter everything up until Colossi or Storm. Until there's Colossus or Storm on the map, you can't deal with like Hydra. Hydraling wrecks everything else a Protoss could throw at you. So this is the ideal response from the Zerg at the moment, but it's got a timer on it, and that timer is until there's splash damage for Protoss.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hydra Ling is a very good composition to go for in the mid game, because it holds off, like you mentioned, almost everything a Protoss can really throw at a Zerg. The thing is though that he's not really reacting in a way to the third Nexus that I would anticipate a Zerg to do, like taking the 4th. Okay, no, the moment I say that, he takes a 4th and actually Zealot goes down there and tries to wreck the party. One move I like by Harstem is already having his War Prism out of the map. If he notices he's being attacked, he can take the fight to his opponent. And speaking of an attack, RainMan is actually moving out on the map right now.
I'm not sure RainMan has enough to deal with this. There's the Photon Overcharge, there's the Immortal, a good number of sentries. He can zone out this army and basically take it in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
But Harstem has to be paying attention. If there's a good engagement for RainMan, this will really hurt.
There's no link speed. What's he gonna do? Like, what is he actually going to do here? Now we got... Oh, okay, this is actually a bit close, but... yeah, this is a big mistake here by Harstem, actually. He didn't force build appropriately. Now he's losing almost all of his sentries. Nice focus fire by RainMan. Takes out quite a few of these sentries, and that did just way more damage than it should have. And that... Okay, Harstem is actually counterattacking.
But the counterattack isn't devastating by any means. It's like 2 Zealots. The War Prism continuing on into the natural base though, but with the Queen there, it's going to be helpful. The 4th base may be forced to cancel with 4 Zealots coming through. And this is some multi-prong attack Harstem's really strong at, but I've got to agree with you. The force fields let Harstem down a bit there, and he took a lot more damage than he should have done.
Yeah, and Harstem, like you mentioned, is really good at this multitask front-spawning Gravas. However, maybe he was multitasking a bit too much, because the defense at the front was kind of abysmal. And now, so manner by RainMan. Harstem is finally adding on a Robo Bay, because he needs Colossi in order to fight this composition. Fortunately for him though, the Lings currently are unupgraded, so they are not that strong against Harstem's army, but Harstem's army currently lacks beef. Like, he needs more Zealots, he needs more Stalkers.
But note the Mutalisks, they're about to come in as well to the third. Yeah, this is a bit of kind of payback for that multi-prong. And if you see all those Lings, you're going to warp in a lot more Zealots, reducing the anti-air you've got.
Oh, and here they come, taking out a bunch of probes. Harstem not really responding. Finally pulls them back, needs to position his Stalkers so he can actually defend against these. He does have Blink though, so he does take out a Mutalisk. Nice job there. And his defense will be adequate for now. Actually, his War Prism attack at the top. 2 Zealots being warped in, but without they do have +2, but still, this hatchery will just live, even though it's very uncomfortably close.
That's annoying. There's not enough Queens to transfuse it, which is a bit of a problem for RainMan, but he does have a 5th base up already, so that's essentially a spare for the most part. Workers killed, 8 compared to 3. RainMan seeing at 89 drones compared to 76 now probes. So, oh sorry, no, 88 drones to 69 probes. army supply though in Harstem's favour, but as we've said quite a few times, there's no splash, and Ling Hydra is just so good when there isn't any AoE damage.
We're kind of approaching the phase where Ling Hydra is losing its use though. It's going to be more focused on Mutalisks, and right now Harstem is banking on the fact that he got so much freedom in the early game to just get a big bank and get a big infrastructure, and currently he has 8 Phoenixes out on the map, which right now at this phase of the game pretty much mitigates the Mutalisk threat from the Zerg. There's Hydras out that defend against them, and he will be adding on Corruptors, but the Mutas from RainMan at this point are kind of useless.
Once the Corruptors are there, they're not completely useless, but it is down to an almost control-based game. If you, as we see now, a couple of Hydras coming down as they trickle through.
It's out of energy.
But yeah, if you've got the Corruptors, you have to use those to zone out the Phoenix. So basically always keep the Corruptors between your Mutas and your Phoenix. And then the Phoenix aren't too effective. But if you don't keep that control up, and I mean all the time, and just give one little slip where your Mutas get exposed, this many Phoenix, which are still being produced 2 at a time, will just pick off your Mutalisks incredibly quickly.
Oh, Harstem had it on to the map. He doesn't force field at all. I'm not sure what he's doing, losing all of his sentries. Of course, his army is more than beefy enough to just deal up front here with what RainMan is throwing at him. But that wasn't a good engagement by any means. Phoenix is now chopping at these Mutas. Stalkers blink forward, now going down on these Corruptors, but there may just be a bit too much Zerg here. The Zealots are now being taken out by the Mutalisks, and the Corruptors are having a way with these Phoenixes, which are not in a happy place right now. Only a few Stalkers left here on the map, and this attack really isn't going the way Harstem had planned it.
Not at all. The Stalkers had to take out the Corruptors to buy the space for the Phoenix, but that just wasn't a thing. We've got a little Zealot warping attempt towards the third, but RainMan, he's on top of it, and RainMan is just doing everything that he needs in order to stay on top in this game, and he really is on top. He's at 5 bases compared to Harstem's 3. Tech-wise and upgrade-wise, it's actually an advantage for RainMan still. And his composition, I'd also argue, is a lot stronger than that of Harstem's.
I love the control-based style that RainMan is currently playing.
Yep.
Having that high Corruptor count just means that the Phoenixes won't really be as effective against Mutas as much as the Protoss ones. We have the range upgrade for the Phoenixes now, so they will be able to quite effectively kite against them until we get Infestors. And we have another move in. Not that many Zerglings though in this case, the Zealots taking care of them quite nicely. The Mutas though are going to town on the rest of the Protoss army, and it seems like Harstem is once again forced to retreat.
It comes down to the Corruptors, they're just stopping the Phoenix from doing anything. Immortals, War Prisms, they're dying to those Mutalisks. Look at the resources lost as well. 13,000 lost by Harstem, just under 12,000 lost by RainMan. You know you're in a good spot as a Zerg if you've lost less resources than your Protoss opponent.
Yes, and on top of all of that, Harstem at the 80-minute mark, his main is mining out, and he still hasn't managed to take a fort. He really needs that to be able to secure his his position in this game. I love his upgrades though, currently finishing up all the way to 3-3. Another big fight erupting here, and he needs to keep these Phoenixes alive at all costs, but the Zerglings are actually spreading through most of the army of Harstem, and where's the Photon Overcharge?
Where's his Mothership Core, don't you mean? That's been picked off, and so this is just some great play by RainMan. He's keeping Harstem back defensive, just giving RainMan the entire map. He's sitting there with better upgrades, a larger army supply, a better drone count, 2 more bases than his opponent, and he should be able to deny this fourth by Harstem as well.
Harstem is really in a dicey position now. He's down almost 50 supply at this point, and just not in a good spot. His fourth gets denied once again, and he doesn't really have much of an answer against the Corruptor count. You need something like Storm or Void Rays. Stalkers are a decent unit, but they are just a bit too fragile against the rest of the, the Zerg force. Nice blink forward though, takes out quite a few.
The big problem is, as you said, those Corruptors, there isn't an adequate response to them. On the ground, if you make too many Stalkers to try and stop it, the Lings come in, and in they go now. The Mutas behind the Corruptors, tearing through the Stalker count. The Stalkers, less numerous than the Mutas in total. And this is just beautiful play. Blink to the max, but the Corruptors stopping all of this. The Muta flock still reigning supreme over the Stalkers, but that quickly swings as the Muta count drops.
Yeah, the Muta count is diminished significantly, as well as the rest of RainMan's army. I think The big problem here for Harstem though is his lack of Templar tech. If he had Archons or Storm, these fights could be going in a very, very different direction. But Harstem has somewhat managed to secure himself another position. He needs to take a fourth immediately though. And oh my god, the Corrupt is getting on top of the Phoenix. Very close once again. And RainMan, you know, he hasn't actually been mining all that much gas at his 5th base, I believe, but still his economy is in a really good shape.
It is in a really good shape. The trouble is, for this composition to work, the balance between the Corruptors and Mutalisks needs to be very fine, and you can't allow the Mutas to go forward, as we just saw there, because the Phoenix will just tear them apart. So really, if RainMan wants to make this go well, what he has to do is make sure that this 4th never becomes a thing. If the 4th base gets up for Harstem, he's got the economy to keep trading like this.
Yeah, Harstem's economy is about to really go down into shambles. His natural is just about to mine out. This 4th is going to be the key in this fight. Looking at the income tab, you already see the difference is just significant. The question is though, what is RainMan going to be investing in? Is he going to be investors, or is he just going to stick to his current composition?
Well, in comes a big engagement now. The Corruptors trying to force back those Phoenix. The Lings on the ground, getting some nice surface area onto the Stalkers, and with the aid of the Mutas, so much damage coming through. The Corruptors zoning all of those Phoenix out, keeping the Mutalisks alive, and with this, RainMan takes an astounding victory. The Phoenix trying to do some more, but I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Well, I'm not sure. These Phoenixes actually almost have +3, but no, Harstem recognizes he's going to lose, and GG, well played.